Hello guys, hello and a warm welcome to a very special episode on our channel. So we are looking at the recently concluded Test series where India not trounced England to enter the World Test Championship final. To talk about the whole series and how looking forward as well to the World Test Championship final against New Zealand, we have a very special guest on our show today. Yes, as you can see, we have Jamie Alter, who's a cricket journalist, an author, a YouTuber. Did I miss anything else, Jamie? Actor. So
Actor.
he's yeah he's done so many hats. So you know that you'll be very busy. Thanks, Jamie. But despite all that, taking your time out to talk about the series with us on this channel.
My pleasure, Kishore. You know how much I like to talk about cricket, so always good to speak to another fellow cricket enthusiast.
Yeah, great. So without wasting too much of time, we'll get straight into the series. So your overall perspective on the series, Jamie, you thought that England would fight much more than this.
Even before the series, Kishore, I had said India will win 3-1. I was quite confident that England would win one Test match, but before then I thought maybe that would come in the day-night match. But by the time the day-night match happened, it seemed that England were already ready to go back because the same team which hammered India in the first match got smashed by a bigger margin in the second Test match. And somehow, by the time they got to Ahmedabad for the pink ball test, the batsmen, the doubts had already been planted in their minds against how to play spin. And I think, frankly, they got the wrong team combination for that match. So yeah, I was not surprised that England won one test. I was surprised which test they won. I did not see them like many of us. I did not see them winning the first Test match. It went from bad to worse, and I mean, a match getting over in 2 days, 3 days. It just shows how utterly dominant this Indian team was.
Yeah. The whole series, right? So most of them, I mean, the whole talk was not much more on the cricket, right? So it was more on the pitch, right? The 22 yards, especially after how England won the first test, right? So then Virat Kohli and Indian team were talking about how too slow the wicket was, that how toss was crucial. The first two, the team that winning the toss, had a lot of advantage. So to negate that, we need a surface that is going to help bowlers right from ball one. So India prepared a wicket. We cannot call it as a bad wicket. We can call it as a wicket that helps spinners from ball one. So too much talks about the surface rather than the cricket, right, Jamie? So your thoughts on the pitches that were used for the series?
Kishore, the pitch, all four Test matches, the pitch was talked about. The pitch was talked about being too flat in the first match in Chennai, how it did not help the spinners, did not help the pacers. It was called a featherbed. Then the second match was then called a raging turner, which it was not. The Ahmedabad Test match, like we saw over in 2 days, that was called a raging turner, poor pitch. To my mind, I agree with you. It was not a poor pitch. Was it conducive for Test cricket? Maybe not, but it was not a poor pitch. I think we've seen many examples of poor pitches, and that in fact the two pitches in the last two Test matches were not poor, because I think that even when there's quality spin on view, it still makes for engaging cricket. Is it good for Test cricket that matches are finishing in 2 days? Absolutely not. But that is not to say that cricket was not engaging. And we saw that it is an art to know how to bowl. You can't just assume that just because it's a rank turner that the spinner will do well. It still requires you to bowl skillfully on those kind of tracks. And clearly, Ashwin and Akshar Patel showed England how to do it. And England, despite how well Jack Leach bowled, were just not able to find that consistency which is required to bowl. And even the fourth match after all that pink ball, the lacquer, the seam. I think the fourth Test match was an example that the pitch had nothing to do with it. This was just once again exceptional bowling from India's two spinners. So yes, a lot of the talk was about the pitch, but I think each match the team that just played, including the first match, England batted, fielded, and bowled better than India. Maybe India did not have enough time to come back from Australia, regroup. I don't know what the team would think about this. But while the pitch was a factor in everyone talking about the series, looking back now, I don't think it was really a reason for one team doing exceptionally bad or good. It was just a lack of skill on the given day.
Yeah. So good you brought up Ashwin and Aksar. So many were talking about England's batting against spin was not good enough and hence they failed. But I had a different thought on that. I felt that the difference mainly was between the spinners from both the teams. Jamie, I felt that if England had one more decent spinner, I'm not even telling a great spinner, one decent spinner, maybe Indian batsmen they would have still struggled to put runs on the board, isn't it, Jamie?
I agree with you, Kishore, and I think that is where when I mentioned the team selection was wrong. I mean, look,
Mm,
people will now look at Dom Bess and say how poorly he bowled in this last test, but he did get four, I think, match-winning wickets in that first test
mm,
match in Chennai. A lot of people still say he's very average. He's a club bowler. He got Cheteshwar Pujara's wicket off Ollie Pope's shoulder.
mm,
That's fine, but he still got the job
mm,
done. So I frankly was very surprised when he did not play the second match. That said, Moin Ali comes in after what, over a year and a half, and he
mm,
takes eight
mm,
wickets. He goes back. That's fine. We cannot look
mm,
at that factor. I think Jack Leach has been outstanding, but each time the England selection was wrong. And they have this uncapped spinner Amar Virdi. I think they should have given him a chance. We saw
mm,
India in Australia not long ago
mm,
when their players were injured and they had to make tough calls. They drafted in players from the larger touring pool, and
mm.
they gave them use. Washington Sundar was in no one's
Yeah,
mind was he ever going to play a test match in Australia because he was there as a
yeah,
net bowler. But
that's
when the
good.
conditions became extreme, he had to play him. I think they should have played because, to my mind, as many spinners as they could have played, they should have. And this is why I think when England look back at this series, more than all the struggles against Akshar and Ashwin, it'll be the fact that they just picked the wrong team in 3 or 4 test matches.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that the England's rotation policy a little bit later. So we'll first focus on India's key players during this series, Jamie. So first that comes to my mind is Rohit Sharma, right? So 6 or 7 tests ago, he was not even a certain starter in a Test 11. Many were doubting about his loose technique for a red ball format. Many thought that he was too loose to open the batting for India in Test match cricket. And come the end of this series, suddenly he's one of the key batsmen, right? So in fact, his innings, right, his knock at 160 in Chennai, I felt that was the turning point for India in this whole series.
Absolutely, that 161 was indeed the turning point because when you lose a test match by 217
Mm,
odd runs, you have to do something because nobody expected India to be smashed by that margin in the first match,
mm,
especially
mm,
given the outstanding home record and given what the Indian
mm,
team did in Australia. So somebody had to kickstart that very sudden revival, and
mm,
it came because India were batting first. It had to come from someone like Rohit. I was also one of the people who was a bit doubtful about Rohit Sharma, the opener, overseas, because we've seen there's a big
mm.
difference between Rohit Sharma, the opener in India, and the
Yeah,
opener overseas,
that's
especially because the way he gets out. And then when Rohit Sharma had a very poor first Test match, I understood that this is a
mm,
player who really has to prove his worth. And I'm very, very glad to see the way that Rohit Sharma, rebounded. And that 161, it removed the pitch from the equation. All the talk was about the
yeah,
pitch. But that man, he took the pitch out of the equation. To get 161 on day one, really, really,
yeah,
like you said, it was the turning point. He got another very vital 50 in the third Test match. In the fourth Test match, we saw
yeah,
him play a very un-Rohit innings when
yeah,
he batted
yeah,
through almost 2 sessions and did not get to 50. Rohit Sharma batting
yeah,
in 2 sessions and getting 49, that's something we don't see a lot. But that
yeah,
showed the other
yeah,
side of it. Like we saw two
yeah,
sides of Rishabh Pant, we saw two sides of Rohit Sharma, and this for Indian cricket can only be fantastic because look, he's going to be turning 34 in hardly 6 weeks.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you played cricket. When you get to that 34 mark as an international
yeah,
player, bowler, batsman, whatever it is, the people start to say, how many years does he have left?
yeah,
So we can
yeah,
assume that Rohit Sharma probably has maximum of 2 years left, being very realistic. So let's hope
yeah.
as Indian fans that this series kickstarts a very, very good run for Rohit, the opener, home and away.
Yeah. Okay. So my next the person that I need to talk to is Rishabh Pant, right? So even just like Rohit Sharma, right? Even Rishabh Pant's place in the 11 was also questioned, especially not so for his batting, but for his keeping, especially with Saha in the bench. Everyone thought that Saha should keep. Rishabh is not a good enough keeper at this level, and there were the other side of the coin that people said that no, you need a batsman who can score runs and who can keep decently well. So there were again that discussion debate if Rishabh Pant is good enough. Again, like Rohit Sharma, come the end of this series, he's again your key player. Not only for his batting, were you also surprised with the way he kept, especially on these type of pitches?
Obviously, he's worked very, very hard, and that really was the only option that Rishabh Pant had. He's a young player. He obviously has lots of talent. We saw that when he made his Test debut in England in 2018, when he became the first Indian keeper with a Test 100 in England. And then he goes and he does the same thing in Australia. So clearly the batting was not so much in doubt. What was in doubt was the temperament as well as the keeping, like you said. Even the keeping against fast bowlers was not in doubt, because he's the fastest Indian keeper to 50 Test dismissals, which speaks volumes about how good India's pace attack has been. But against spin, it's always been a problem, be it in white ball cricket and in Test cricket. We saw him drop catches in Australia, and I agree with you. All the question marks about Rishabh Pant were his keeping against spin, because in India, you know that Ashwin and Kuldeep and Jadeja, whoever plays, we saw Akshar here, they're going to play at least 2 spinners, sometimes 3. So how good he keeps to the spinners across, session after session was always going to be the problem. He dropped a catch in the first Test of Ashwin, and we all said, oh no, it starts again. But that boy has clearly worked very, very hard. I don't think he made many major technical adjustments. He just practiced very, very hard. He had a brilliant stumping in the second match. He ended up with 8 catches and 5 stumpings. And especially, with the pressure, I don't think his place as a batsman after what happened in Australia was ever in doubt. But yes, with Saha there, and I like what Ravi Shastri said, that this boy, when he came to Australia, he was 4 or 5 kgs overweight. We told him, you want to play for India, you get in shape. And he slogged in Australia. And the hard work in Australia, we now saw happening here, because very different conditions. But I think the confidence of having scored runs in Australia and knowing that my place in the team is secure for this series must have done a world of good for Rishabh Pant. And I'm very, very glad that I frankly have been a big fan of his batting. So I was not surprised that he scored as many runs, because he's going to do that. He's going to get out for 90s many times. That's the way he plays. Four times in the 90s he's gotten out. That's his style. He's like he's not a Sehwag. He's an Adam Gilchrist. He's going to win you matches batting at number 7 or 6 in a matter of a couple sessions. But the hard work that he's done with the fielding coach, with everyone in that team, this is now showing. And I think nobody will have any questions about Rishabh Pant for a long time now.
Yeah, good you brought up the Gilchrist. Exactly, I mean, Australia would be, around 150, 160 for 5, and all of a sudden, this Gilchrist 70, 80 runs and partnership with one of the bowlers or one of the middle order batsmen, suddenly you have this 350. And then once a team scores around 300, 350, right? So they're always on the front foot, as they say, right? So yeah, Rishabh Pant, let's hope that he's going to play a lot of knocks like that. And the next, I had to get you, your point of view on that shot of Anderson, Jamie. I mean, how did you react to that? I mean, I was like, it's just Test cricket. You have a bowler who's got 600 wickets. He's taken the new ball. Forget respect. I mean, how did that shot come from? I mean, what was your reaction with that reverse sweep, Jamie?
Look, just that innings, we saw him play a very different innings. He got to 50 of 82 balls, which many will say that's a very good strike rate. But given Rishabh Pant's nature, it was, let's say, a slow innings, but a very sensible innings. He could have got 50 or 50 balls, but he knew the situation, and I'm very glad that he had Washington Sundar batting with him. Because these two boys are going to play a long time for India. But then when he got the second 50, you say, okay, he's got to 90, but now the new ball has come. What's he going to do? I was not surprised that he was playing shots, but that shot against Anderson, it's a shot he's played in the IPL before. He played the same shot against Hardik Pandya in 2018. But to do it against the new ball, we all thought, a new ball, maybe he'll do some tuk cricket. Not at all. He said, I'm going to do it. And he fell in the same over playing that shot. But that
Yeah.
was a very Rishabh Pant shot, a very IPL shot, a very this you can talk about this new bold play. But I was just stunned because while he might play, a sweep or a reverse sweep, to do it to Anderson with the new ball, I
Maybe,
said, wow, outstanding.
maybe he was getting ready for the IPL just a month earlier.
Who knows what's going through that boy's head right now? But whatever it is, rest assured, he's feeling very, very confident.
Yeah. Let's talk about the youngsters, Jamie. People who have come in because 10 years down the line, or even a few years down, back, right? India were always a good team, but their bench strength was always in question, right? So we would have seen 11 or 12 good cricketers, and then 3 or 4 okay cricketers, and we'll not have too many pool of players to pick a good, good players to come directly into the test match. But all of a sudden it's changed, isn't it? We see the likes of Shardul Thakur, doing well in Australia. We see Washington Sundar, as you mentioned earlier, that he was only a net bowler, and Natarajan, he was just starting his IPL few months back. Suddenly he was a great star there. You see Akshar Patel doing very well here. I mean, how did this all change? How did India's bench strength become suddenly so strong?
I think playing in the IPL is, of course, a very big factor, and it's no surprise because, as you know, the IPL has now given the uncapped or the rookie or the fringe Indian players a chance to interact and share a dressing room with so many international superstars. And you can imagine what someone like a T Natarajan, who's going to be bowling to David Warner, Kane Williamson, Johnny Bairstow in the nets for 3 months of a year, back-to-back years, what that does. So it's very obvious the IPL has had a factor. It's also a credit to the system. I think so someone like Rahul Dravid, who's been charged of the A teams, under 19 teams, he's seen Rishabh Pant come through, he's seen Gill come through, he's seen Washington Sundar come through, he's seen Prithvi Shaw come through, he's seen these guys come through. He's worked with the A team, so something about that man's experience, and I'm sure he's had a role at the NCA. About the coaches, about the fitness, the coaching, everything seems to be coming together at the right time. Look, it's a good mix when you have people like Rishabh Pant, 23, Washington Sundar, he's 21, Shaw is 21, Gill is 22, Mohammad Siraj is 26, Akshar Patel is 27. So when you have a mix of guys who are playing 2-3 years of first class cricket, and Akshar Patel, who let's not forget, he's played 38 one-day matches for India in 2014-15. So he's not a young player, but he's a very experienced player. Same with Shardul. Shardul played that Brisbane match because he had 200 first-class wickets and 6 first-class 50s. So it's this coming together of experience and Josh, as we say in the north. All these things, it's outstanding. And like you said, Shardul Thakur can play in Brisbane. Washington Sundar can come back with 3.5 years of no first-class cricket for Tamil Nadu. He comes back and does well. You still keep in mind, it's Prithvi Shaw, who 1 year back was this big thing. He's not gone. He's still there. He's still there. Mayank Agarwal was in the top 10 of the Test rankings 1.5 years ago. He's still there. Kuldeep Yadav, he's still there. He's not gone anywhere. So this just speaks that if an Akshar Patel can walk up, and people may not agree with me, but Akshar Patel probably did better than what even Ravindra Jadeja could possibly have done in the series. So like Ravi Shastri says, when Jadeja comes back, India are going to play all 3 spinners in India, and then you see the fun that's going to happen when teams come.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck to the foreign batsmen who come here with that bowling lineup. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about one more superstar, right, from the series I missed. So R Ashwin, right? So he's done it. I mean, he's been a superstar. He's not got the credit that most people get, right? So he's been one of the greatest that India has produced. So his bowling, and in fact his batting has improved now, so that is also helping his bowling. So do you think that Ashwin is probably the best finger spinner that India has produced?
You'd be tempted to say that just given the volume of wickets he has, but I always find it a little bit difficult or maybe unfair to compare the generations. People like you and me have not seen the great spinners of that quartet bowling live, but you can assume that the craft was definitely higher then, and there were different pitches, so it's very hard to compare. But yes, just given the fact that he's taken so many wickets consistently, I think he's definitely better than Harbhajan Singh, who was the next finger spinner we saw when Ashwin was around. But is he the
Yeah,
greatest? I don't know. Just because I've not seen
yeah,
the greats bowl live, but it's taking nothing away from him. He's Ashwin said just last week in Australia he did not think he would be an automatic starter for the Adelaide
mm,
Oval Test. It's only when Jadeja got injured that he knew he was playing. That's a big statement from somebody who was
yeah,
already very close to 400 Test wickets. 4 Test centuries.
mm,
Because his overseas record has not been anywhere near as it's good.
mm,
In India, he's
mm,
gotten better consistently. But
mm,
somehow,
mm.
Ashwin at home is a king, but outside he has this problem. Maybe it's right to an extent. Also
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Kishore, his batting it faded away. Jadeja's batting has
yeah,
evolved so much that perhaps on his
yeah,
batting, he was getting picked more overseas in the first Test match of the series than Ashwin.
yeah,
But Ashwin, that Sydney innings with that immense back pain, to score those runs with Vihari, something clicked in
yeah,
Ashwin, and the batting
yeah.
came back. And it's because, like you said, it's because he's batting so well. The bowling
Mm,
improves, and you just see a happier Ashwin, and a happy
yeah,
Ashwin translates to a more successful Indian team.
yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move focus to the England side. So, where did you think that it went all wrong, Jamie? So, the rotation policy, was that one of the key factors in England doing so badly, or you felt that there was some other reason that because there was absolutely no fight from them. I mean, by the time that fourth test started, right, especially in the second innings, I mean, it was a given that they'll collapse on that day. So they have reached that stage, as you said earlier, right? So they started off wonderfully well, albeit on a placid surface. So where did you think that it went everything went wrong? So what do you think about that rotation policy?
Yeah, look, the rotation policy has left many of us scratching our heads and wondering what happens. But look, it's something which they firmly believe in. They've been doing it now for several years, and they're going to probably keep doing it. Where it makes them look a bit foolish is when Johnny Bairstow bats at number 3 in Sri Lanka in
Hmm.
2 Test matches. Then he literally goes home for 2 weeks. In this
2 weeks.
biosecure bubble, we understand how important it is for a player's mental health and to get away to his natural environment. But 2 weeks is nothing. He goes for 2 weeks and he
Yeah,
comes right back. It was probably better off not bringing Johnny Bairstow back, right? So I am
yeah,
seeing the
yeah.
rotation policy from the duration perspective. I agree
Hmm.
with the principle of giving because look, we can sit here and talk, but what these athletes go through for 6 months in a row,
Hmm.
we cannot even understand properly. So I'm okay with
Hmm.
players getting a break, but then to
Hmm.
bring them back in such a short span of time, that
Hmm.
to
Yeah,
me was bizarre. Jofra Archer
yeah,
had a longer break, but Johnny Bairstow did not have.
yeah,
Jofra Archer and Ben
yeah,
Stokes, they did not go to Sri Lanka. Johnny
yeah,
Bairstow went to Sri Lanka. Why did you bring him back? Let him spend the whole time there. Bring him back for the white ball, right? Give him 2 more weeks.
yeah,
So things like that
yeah.
seem very odd to me. But that's only one factor. I think the bigger factor was they just did not have the experience. A lot of us said,
Hmm.
look, they've been in Sri Lanka for 1 month. They've won 2-1 there. Great for them. But this is a much superior Indian bowling attack. Ashwin, 400 wickets, Akshay Patel,
Hmm.
yes, making his debut, but he's played a lot of cricket. He knows what to do. And I think once they were hammered in that second Test match, something mentally they just lost it.
Hmm.
And definitely they played the wrong 11 in the day-night pink ball
Correct,
test. They needed
correct.
a spinner there. They got it wrong. Even this last Test match, they went in with one fast bowler. I mean,
Yeah, I think they overreacted for the last test. In fact, the last test
they
required
did.
at least one more fast bowler. We saw a lot of bounce. We saw probably they didn't read the pitch. They overreacted. So it all comes
Absolutely.
down to here, isn't it,
So
Jamie?
that
So
So that Kishore, that's not rotation. That's just not judging the conditions and your own players. So the bigger, yes, the rotation policy was perhaps 1/4 of the problem. The other bigger
hmm.
picture, the 3/4 were just poor application. And when Akshar and Ashwin are bowling you that 20 overs in a row, very very tough to come out. And even the shot selection,
Yeah,
this last Test match, some
yeah,
really just idiotic shot selection. So I mean, they were a
yeah.
mess, absolute mess.
Yeah. Okay. So moving forward, right? So let's look ahead at the final. Now that India is going to play New Zealand, we are hearing that it may not be at Lords, some other ground in England. So your thoughts on the final? So who start favorites to you, and what could be the matchup that could be key for the final, Jim?
Look, I think being very objective here, India are probably the better equipped side to play New Zealand anywhere outside of New Zealand. Because at home New Zealand are immense, But
Mm.
if they play, it seems like this match would either be at Southampton, which is
Mm.
The most Asian track in all of
Mm.
England. Okay, that's where Moeen Ali took 8 wickets to beat India one time. So
Yeah.
if it's Southampton, believe me, Indian team will be very, very happy. They'll play Akshar, they'll play Jadeja, and they'll play Ashwin. And that's where. But if it's somewhere else where it's a greener wicket, then you'll see Tim Southee and Trent Bolt and Neil Wagner coming too. So taking nothing away from New Zealand, I think New Zealand are a very deserving team. Yes, they won 3 or 4 series at home, but India also won at home. So I think two very good teams. But moving outside of Lords to Southampton or even Old Trafford, you have to say India, to my mind, are the favourites just because of what they pulled off in Australia and what they've done now against England. So yes, once again, the pitch will be the talk when that final starts. Wherever it is, Southampton or Oval, or I think Old Trafford or Southampton are likely two venues, because the ECB has taken the call to have the venue at sites where the hotel is on the ground, and these are the two grounds where we saw West Indies play, we saw Australia play, and we saw Pakistan play. So most likely it'll be there, and believe me, India will be very, very happy.
So the key battles that is going to decide the finals, you think, is it Bumrah versus Williamson, or what would be the key matchup that is going to decide, Jimmy?
Like I just said, given the venues, I'm going to say it's going to be India spinners. You don't see India spinners being talked about in England, but I don't think we're going to see. It's going to be June, July. Normally it's warm there. You're not going to see. You're not going to see. I don't think it'll be a very green top. I think the green tops will come after that when India play 5 matches. England will say, "Acha beta, now that's fine." But New Zealand. Remember, this is a neutral series, and it's one test match. So I don't think either team will have a strong say in what kind of pitch is given, because they're both neutral sides. But I would not be surprised if it's Southampton, if you see even Akshar Patel playing there as well alongside Ashwin and Jadeja.
Yeah. So thinking of, I mean, you talked about these pitches, right? So I had this very interesting thought. So everyone say, right, when India tour they give green wickets, but personally I felt no teams are ready to give a condition. I mean, a wicket that is suited completely in favor of the bowlers, and that is credited to India, because India's fast bowlers have now they have this ability to blow out sides with their fast bowling attack. So is it credit to India for that? So do you think that teams will directly give the green wickets for India when they tour England, or will they? Because I felt that Australia were thinking too much about Bumrah, Shami, Ishant didn't tour. So Bumrah, Shami. So hence they were giving a wicket that was not completely in favor of the fast bowlers.
Look, I agree to a large extent with what you're saying, and there've been some examples of the green tops backfiring. We saw it in South Africa 2007-8 when Sreesanth and Zaheer Khan bowled outstandingly, and India won overseas. We saw it at Lords also, 2014. We also 2018, the second Test match after the first match at Southampton. It was a green top, and that match, India. This is where Virat Kohli got the wrong playing 11. He dropped a pacer and he played Kuldeep Yadav, and that match famously also got over well inside 4 days. India was smashed by James Anderson and Broad, a lot of wickets. So that had India perhaps played another fast bowler there, things could have been very, very different. So again, yes, the green tops can backfire, but I just have a feeling that despite how well we have Ishant, we have Bumrah, we have Shami, maybe even Bhuvneshwar comes back. Given the way that these spinning tracks have been put forward, England will still back their bowlers. I mean, imagine how angry and hungry Archer and Stone and Broad. So I still think we'll see more green tops in England, just given the fact how England were smashed on these dust bowls here in India.
Yeah, and India wouldn't complain that as well. I feel in conditions like that, India has also an equal chance of winning there. So, I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, we cannot wait for that series to start. So, thanks a lot for your time, Jamie. We discussed a lot about the series and the finals. So, as I said earlier, despite your very busy schedule, you took out time to discuss cricket with us on Crick Voice. So let's hope for more such shows on our channel. And once again, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kishore, and I hope, and I'm pretty sure we'll be talking again in the not too distant future. So, and
Yeah,
I hope your channel grows, and I hope you get a lot more subscribers. Please like and share, because what's happening here on Cricket Voice is very fun for all of us cricket viewers to watch and listen to. So, all the best.
yeah. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks a lot.